The Crimson Gauntlet had one rule: everyone falls before Gromoth the Destroyer. But when the human said, "Bring your champion," the entire arena forgot how to breathe. Vectar had seen 300 cycles as arena master of the Crimson Gauntlet, and in all that time, across all those blood-soaked matches on Station Helix 9, he had never, not once, been wrong about a fighter's survival rate. His 4 eyes could assess a warrior's capability within moments of their arrival. The way they moved, the confidence in their stance, the scars they carried, it all told a story. And right now, standing in his preparation bay, that story was a comedy. The human was small, laughably small. Commander Raina Cross, according to the registration manifest, stood barely 6 feet tall. Her frame looked fragile compared to the average Keltharian warrior, who typically measured 9 feet of pure muscle and chitin plating. She wore a simple black combat suit, no armor, no visible weapons beyond a standard plasma knife on her hip. Her hair, dark and pulled back tight, revealed a face that seemed almost bored. "This is the human?" Vectar's assistant, a young Trell named Morcrus, chittered with barely contained laughter. "Master, surely this is a mistake. She looks like she would break if I sneezed in her direction." The other arena staff gathered around the observation window, pointing and making crude gestures. Vectar allowed it. Morale was important, and honestly, what harm could a little mockery do? The human would be dead within minutes of round 1 anyway. They always were. 3 humans had entered the Crimson Gauntlet before. 3 humans had died in round 1. The statistics were clear, the pattern undeniable. Humans were weak, slow, and completely unsuited for real combat. Their homeworld, Earth, was some backwater planet with embarrassingly low gravity. They had no natural weapons, no armor plating, no venom sacs. They were, for all intents and purposes, the galaxy's cosmic joke. Vectar activated the communication channel. His voice boomed through the preparation bay speakers, deep and resonant with authority. "Human. I am Arena Master Vectar. I have presided over 4,723 matches. I have seen champions rise and pretenders fall. I tell you this now, with certainty earned through 3 centuries of experience. No human survives round 1. Not one. Not ever." He expected fear, perhaps pleading, maybe even a request to withdraw. Instead, Raina Cross looked directly at the observation camera, her expression flat, her voice steady and cold. "Watch me." 2 words. That was all she gave him. Morcrus erupted into laughter, joined immediately by the rest of the staff. Even Vectar felt his mandibles twitch in amusement. The audacity was almost charming. "Very well," Vectar announced, switching to the station-wide channel. "All bets are now open. Current odds for human survival past round 1 are set at 3,000 to 1. Place your wagers, beings of Helix 9. Witness another chapter in humanity's continuing failure to understand its place in this galaxy." The betting boards lit up across every screen in the station. Credits poured in, all against the human, all except one bet. Raina Cross had placed 10,000 credits on herself. Vectar saw that and laughed until his thorax ached. The human was not just weak, she was also stupid. The Crimson Gauntlet was not just famous, it was legendary. Across 7 systems, from the merchant hubs of Antares Cluster to the military stations orbiting Proxima, every sentient being knew the name. Warriors came here to prove themselves, to earn glory, to claim the title of champion. Most left in medical pods, some left in storage containers, heading home for whatever burial rites their species practiced. The rules were simple, brutal, and entirely non-negotiable. 3 rounds. Survive all 3. Claim victory and 1 million credits. Fail. Well, Station Helix 9 had excellent medical facilities. Probably. Vectar had never actually checked, because frankly most fighters did not need doctors, they needed undertakers. Round 1 typically featured environmental challenges or pack predators. Round 2 introduced armed combat against seasoned gladiators. Round 3 was special. That was when Gromoth the Destroyer entered the arena, all 12 feet of armored fury, and reminded everyone why he had never in 73 consecutive matches lost a single fight. The humans, though, they never made it past round 1. Kilirith, the station's head bookkeeper, scuttled over to Vectar's observation deck, his 6 legs clicking rapidly against the metal floor. The Scytherian's compound eyes gleamed with barely suppressed glee. "Master Vectar, the betting is unprecedented. We have received wagers from 18 different systems. Everyone wants to see the human fail. The house stands to make 7 million credits when she dies. When, not if. Vector agreed, his mandibles clicking in satisfaction. Tell me again about the previous humans, Killereth. I want to remember this properly. Killereth pulled up the holofiles with practiced efficiency. First human 5 cycles ago. Lieutenant Marcus Webb, crushed by a Gronthian boulder beast within 40 seconds. Second human, 3 cycles ago. Specialist Jackson Torres, poisoned by Vendac spine crawlers in 2 minutes. 12 seconds. Third human, 1 cycle ago. Sergeant Kim Okoye, torn apart by a pack of shriekers in 97 seconds. Vector nodded slowly, savoring the statistics. And what makes humans so pathetically unsuited for combat, Killereth? The bookkeeper's answer was almost rehearsed. Everyone in the galaxy knew this information. Their homeworld, Earth, has gravity of only 9.8 meters per second squared. Laughably weak, they evolved as persistence hunters, meaning they are slow, fragile, and designed for chasing prey over long distances, not actual fighting. They have no natural weapons, no armor, no regenerative capabilities. Their reaction times are adequate at best. They are, biologically speaking, the bottom tier of warrior species. It was true. Every reputable xenobiology database confirmed it. Humans were soft-bodied, thin-skinned, weak-boned creatures who somehow stumbled into space travel despite having no business leaving their gentle little planet. Current odds? Vector asked. 3,400 to 1 against her survival past round 1, Killereth reported. And those odds are generous in my professional opinion. I would have set them at 10,000 to 1, but regulations require at least theoretical possibility. Vector gestured toward the arena preparation chamber. And for round 3, if by some cosmic miracle she survives that long. Killereth chittered, the Scythian equivalent of laughter. Grimoth is ready as always. Though I suspect you will not need him today, Master. The shriekers you have selected for round 1 are particularly hungry. I estimate the human has perhaps 2 minutes before they shred her completely. 2 minutes. Vector could live with that. Quick deaths were almost merciful, and mercy was not something he normally offered. He glanced at the countdown clock. 5 minutes until the match began. This would be entertaining. The arena floor was a circular pit, 200 meters in diameter, surrounded by reinforced viewing galleries that could hold 3,000 spectators. Tonight, every single seat was occupied. Word had spread fast. Another human, another inevitable failure, another opportunity to watch Earth's so-called warriors prove exactly how inferior they were to the rest of the galaxy. The crowd roared as Raina Cross stepped onto the sand. Jeers, insults, and crude betting commentary echoed from every direction. A group of Keltharian merchants in the upper gallery threw food scraps at her. She did not even look up. Vector activated his microphone, his voice cutting through the chaos. Beings of Helix 9, honored guests from across the 7 systems, welcome to the Crimson Gauntlet. Tonight we have a special entertainment. A human, yes, you heard correctly, a human, has volunteered to face round 1. Let us see if she lasts longer than the previous specimens. The laughter was deafening. Vector pressed the release mechanism. Across the arena 6 reinforced gates slid open with a hydraulic hiss. The shriekers emerged. These were not just any predators. Vendax Prime was a nightmare world where evolution favored speed, viciousness, and pack coordination. Shriekers stood 7 feet tall, moved on 4 razor-clawed legs, and hunted with a terrifying efficiency that made them illegal to own on most civilized worlds. Their name came from the high-pitched scream they made before tearing prey apart. 6 of them against 1 tiny human. This would be over in seconds. The shriekers circled. Raina, their movements fluid and synchronized. Pack hunters, Vector knew, always tested their prey first, looking for weakness, for fear responses, and humans always showed fear. It was their nature. Except Raina Cross did not move. She stood perfectly still, hands at her sides, watching the creatures with an expression that Vector could only describe as clinical interest. The Alpha Shrieker screamed and lunged. What happened next made absolutely no sense. Raina moved, not away but toward the creature, closing distance with a speed that seemed impossible for her size. She dropped low, under the Shrieker's slashing claws, and drove her fist upward into its throat. The sound of impact echoed across the arena. The Shrieker's scream cut off mid-note as it stumbled backward, choking. The crowd went silent. The other 5 Shriekers attacked simultaneously, a coordinated strike that should have overwhelmed any single opponent. Reyna twisted, her movements economical and precise, no wasted motion. She caught one shrieker's leg mid-strike and used its momentum to swing it into another. Both creatures crashed to the sand in a tangle of limbs. That is not possible, Morcus whispered beside Vectar. She is too fast. Humans are not that fast. Vectar said nothing. He was too busy watching, his 4 eyes wide with growing disbelief. A third shrieker got close, its jaws snapping toward Reyna's shoulder. She turned into the bite, not away, and jammed her forearm between its teeth. The creature bit down, and Vectar winced, expecting to see the human's arm sever. Instead, Reyna grabbed the shrieker's lower jaw with her free hand and pulled. The sound of breaking bone made several spectators in the front row gag. She threw the dying creature aside like it weighed nothing. Check her gravity rating, Vectar ordered, his voice sharp. Now. Killerith's claws flew over his datapad. Earth standard is 9.8. Master. That is confirmed. She should be weak. She should be slow. She should be dead, Vectel finished. But she was not. The remaining shriekers, creatures that knew no fear, that had been bred for aggression, began to back away. Reyna walked toward them, not running, just walking, and they scattered. One tried to flee through its entry gate. She caught it by the tail and slammed it into the arena wall with enough force to crack the reinforced stone. 4 minutes, and 17 seconds after round 1 began, all 6 shriekers lay motionless on the sand. Reyna Cross stood in the center of the arena, breathing steady, not even winded. She looked up at Vectar's observation window. Then she smiled. The crowd remained absolutely, completely silent. Vectar felt something he had not experienced in 300 cycles. Fear. Vectar's observation deck erupted into controlled chaos. Morcus frantically pulled up medical scans while 3 different arena officials argued over combat regulations. Killerith stood frozen, staring at his datapad like it had personally betrayed him. Run the full biological analysis, Vectar commanded, his voice tight. I want to know what we are actually dealing with. That was not normal human performance. The medical scanner hummed, penetrating waves washing over Reyna as she stood calmly in the center of the arena, waiting. The results appeared on Vectar's screen, and he read them twice, certain there had been an error. Bone density, 3 times higher than expected. Muscle fiber composition, significantly more efficient than standard human baseline. Reaction time, faster than the database suggested by nearly 40%. Cardiovascular system, operating at what should be peak stress levels, except her heart rate was only slightly elevated. This makes no sense, Morcus said, his voice cracking. The data says she should be normal, average weak. Vectar zoomed in on one particular reading. Her body is under constant stress. Look at this. Her musculature is compressed, working against something. It is like she is wearing weights. Gravity. Killerith whispered, his eyes wide with dawning horror. Master, I need to check something. The bookkeeper pulled up Earth's planetary specifications, going deeper than the basic summary everyone referenced. His claws trembled as he scrolled through the environmental data. Oh no. Oh no. What? Vectar demanded. Earth's gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared. Yes, but Master, look at the atmospheric pressure. Look at the oxygen concentration. Look at the radiation exposure from their sun. Look at the weather patterns. Killereth's voice rose with each sentence. Their planet does not just have predators. It is a predator. Hurricanes that destroy cities. Earthquakes that reshape continents. Temperature variations that would kill most species. They evolved in chaos, Master. Constant, relentless chaos. Vectar felt his mandibles go slack. And the station gravity, Killereth continued, now openly panicking. Helix 9 runs at standard galactic, which is 6.2 meters per second squared. She is operating at 63% of her normal weight. We have been watching her fight in low gravity. She is not struggling. She is holding back. The observation deck went silent. On the arena floor, Reyna stretched casually, rolling her shoulders like an athlete warming up for a light training session. The medical team approached her with water and a first aid kit. She waved them off. Then she did something that made Vectar's blood run cold. She looked directly at the camera again and spoke. Her voice carried clearly through the arena's audio system. Round 2 when you are ready, Arena Master. I have a dinner reservation in 3 hours, so let us keep this moving. The crowd, which had been silent, began to murmur. Nervous chittering spread through the galleries. In the betting sections, spectators rushed to change their wagers. Killereth made a sound like a dying engine. Master, the bets are reversing. Everyone is pulling their money. We are going to lose everything. Everything. How much has she won so far? Vector asked, though he dreaded the answer. If she survives round 2, her initial 10,000 credit bet pays out at current odds of 800 to 1. That is 8 million credits. But master, the real problem is the house bets. We guaranteed the odds. If she wins the whole gauntlet we owe her plus the other bets now being placed on her, we are looking at potential losses exceeding 40 million credits. Vector stared at the human below. She waved at him. Actually waved. Like this was all some pleasant afternoon entertainment. Release the round 2 fighters, Vector said quietly. All of them. At once. Round 2 protocol called for 3 armed gladiators released sequentially, each fighting the contestant individually. Vector threw out the protocol. Release all 12, he ordered. Marcus stared at him. Master, that violates every arena regulation. The Galactic Combat Commission will— I do not care, Vector snapped. Release them. Now. 12 gates opened simultaneously. 12 Keltharian warriors, each standing 9 feet tall, each wearing full combat armor and carrying plasma blades, stepped onto the sand. These were not arena novices. These were veterans. Soldiers who had fought in the border wars, who had survived real combat. 12 against 1. The crowd gasped. Even those now betting on Reyna seemed shocked by the violation of protocol. Reyna looked at the 12 warriors, then up at Vector's window. She shrugged. The Keltharians attacked in formation. A text-deport military advance that had broken enemy lines on 40 different worlds. Shields interlocked. Blades ready. Moving as a single armored unit. Reyna ran straight at them. Not around. Not away. Directly at the center of their formation. She is insane, Marcus breathed. Perhaps. But insanity apparently worked. Reyna hit the shield wall like a meteor. The center Keltharian, a massive warrior named Jekthar, who weighed 400 pounds in full armor, stumbled backward from the impact. His shield cracked. Actually cracked. From a punch. She vaulted over his falling body, landed behind the formation, and the real chaos began. Keltharian combat doctrine assumed frontal assault. They were trained to hold lines, to present an armored wall to the enemy. They were not trained to deal with an opponent who moved like water, who targeted joints and weak points with surgical precision, who treated their superior size as a disadvantage rather than a threat. Reyna disabled the first warrior by kicking his knee backward. The joint bent in a direction knees should not bend. He went down screaming. She took his plasma blade as he fell. Now armed, she moved through the remaining warriors like she was conducting a violent symphony. Block, parry, strike. Every movement efficient, every attack targeted. She did not waste energy on dramatic swings or showy techniques. She simply destroyed them, one by one, with a workmanlike efficiency that was somehow more terrifying than any berserker rage. A blade slashed across her shoulder. Blood welled up dark red against her pale skin. She did not even slow down. She grabbed the warrior who cut her, used his own momentum to throw him into 2 of his companions, and drove her stolen blade through a gap in another warrior's armor. She is bleeding, Killereth noted. She can be hurt. She does not care. Vector replied, horror creeping into his voice. Look at her. She does not care. It was true. Reyna fought with the calm focus of someone doing routine maintenance, not battling for her life against overwhelming odds. When a Keltharian's blade nearly took her head off, she ducked, swept his legs and used him as a shield against incoming plasma fire. The crowd had gone from silent shock to active cheering, not for the Keltharians, for human, human, human. The chant started in the lower galleries and spread upward like wildfire. 8 minutes into round 2, 11 Keltharian warriors lay unconscious or worse on the arena floor. The 12th, a veteran named Krothar who had survived the siege of Meridian, dropped his weapon and raised his hands in surrender. Reyna accepted it with a nod. She walked back to the center of the arena, still bleeding from multiple cuts, breathing harder now but still standing straight. She looked up at Vector. Round 3, she called out. Bring your champion. Let us finish this. Vector's reputation, built over 300 cycles, crumbled completely in that moment. He had no choice left. Release Gramoth, he whispered. Gramoth the Destroyer earned his name through 73 consecutive victories, each one ending with his opponent either dead or permanently crippled. He was a Vraxian, a species engineered for war during the Old Empire conflicts. 12 feet of bio-augmented muscle, covered in armor plating that grew directly from his skeleton. His forearms each carried weapons integrated into his very biology, plasma cannons in his upper arms, razor blades extending from his lower forearms. He had never been defeated. Ever. The champion's gate rose slowly, accompanied by deep war drums that resonated through the arena's sound system. Gromoth emerged, and even the spectators who had been cheering for Reyna fell silent. This was different. This was a living weapon. Vexir leaned forward in his observation seat, claws gripping the armrests. This had to end now. His arena's reputation depended on it. His personal fortune depended on it. Everything depended on Gromoth doing what he did best, destroying. Gromoth looked at Reyna. She looked back, tilting her head slightly, studying him. Then she did something absolutely unthinkable. She smiled wider. Finally, she said, loud enough for the arena microphones to catch. Someone my size. Gromoth roared, a sound that made the reinforced viewing glass vibrate. He charged, all forearms raised, plasma cannons warming up with a high-pitched whine. Reyna charged back. They met in the center of the arena with an impact that cracked the stone floor. Gromoth's upper right arm swung down, plasma cannon firing at point-blank range. Reyna twisted, the blast missing her head by inches, superheated air singing her hair. She grabbed his lower left arm, the one with the blade, and pulled herself up his massive body like a climber scaling a mountain. That is not a valid combat technique, Morcus said weakly. Nothing about this is valid, Vectel replied, his voice hollow. Gromoth tried to shake her off, but Reyna had locked her legs around his shoulder joint. She drove her elbow repeatedly into the gap where his helmet met his armor collar. Once, twice, 3 times. The armor cracked. Gromoth grabbed her with his lower right arm and threw her across the arena. She hit the wall hard enough to leave an impact crater. The crowd gasped. For a moment Reyna lay still. Finally, Vectel breathed. Finally it is. Reyna stood up, slowly, deliberately. Blood ran from a cut above her eye. Her left arm hung at an odd angle, probably dislocated. She rolled her shoulder and the joint popped back into place with a sound that made half the audience wince. Okay, she said, spitting blood onto the sand. Okay, now I am annoyed. What followed was not a fight. It was a systematic dismantling. Reyna stopped holding back. She moved with a speed that seemed impossible, using Gromoth's size against him, targeting every joint, every weak point, every gap in his bioarmor. When his plasma cannons fired, she was already somewhere else. When his blades struck, they hit empty air. She climbed him again, this time getting to his back. Gromoth spun, trying to dislodge her, but she hung on, wrapping her arm around his throat. A Vraxian throat could withstand pressures that would crush steel. Reyna squeezed anyway. Gromoth's roar turned into a wheeze. His forearms flailed, desperate now. He slammed backward into the arena wall, trying to crush her between his bulk and the stone. The wall cracked. Reyna held on. 10 seconds, 20, 30. Gromoth's movement slowed. His arms dropped. His legs buckled. 45 seconds. The champion fell forward, face first into the sand. Reyna released her hold and stepped off his back. She stood there, swaying slightly, bleeding from a dozen wounds, her combat suit torn and scorched, but standing. The arena exploded. 3,000 beings screaming, cheering, chanting her name. Vector sat frozen, staring at his ruined champion, at his destroyed arena, at the human who had just invalidated 300 cycles of certainty. Killerith made a sound like breaking glass. We are bankrupt, completely bankrupt. The house losses exceed 60 million credits. Vector did not respond. He could not. His world had just ended. In the arena, Reyna Cross looked up at the observation window one final time. She did not smile now. She just nodded. Message received. The aftermath unfolded like a slow-motion disaster that Vectelfor could only watch helplessly. Killerith collapsed first, his 6 legs giving out as the final betting calculations appeared on his datapad. Station Helix 9's entire entertainment budget, plus the arena's operational funds, plus Vectelfor's personal savings, all gone. Evaporated, transferred directly into Reyna Cross's account along with dozens of other lucky spectators who had reversed their bets in time. The Galactic Combat Commission representatives arrived within an hour, their expressions professionally neutral but their intent clear, releasing 12 opponents simultaneously, followed by the champion in an authorized early deployment, violated at least 40 different regulations. Vector's arena license would be under review. His reputation, carefully built over 3 centuries, was finished. But none of that compared to what happened in the post-fight interview. The arena's medical team tried to treat Reyna's injuries. She waved them off again, accepting only water and a towel. A reporter from the Galactic Sports Network, a ambitious Trell named Sycamora, pushed through the chaos with a camera drone. Commander Cross, that was the most incredible display of combat prowess this reporter has ever witnessed. Tell us, how did you train for this? What special regiment did you follow? What enhancements did you receive? Reyna wiped blood from her face and shrugged. Standard Earth military training, 20 weeks basic, followed by Ranger qualification, then another 12 weeks for special operations certification. Nothing unusual. Sycamora's antennae twitched with confusion. But surely you must have some genetic modifications, some enhancement therapy, some… Nope, Reyna interrupted, drinking deeply from a water bottle. I am about average for a human soldier actually. Maybe slightly above average in hand-to-hand, but nothing special. There are at least 10,000 active service members who could have done what I did here tonight, probably better. Honestly, my close-quarters combat instructor back home would be embarrassed by how long round 3 took. The silence that followed was deafening. Sycamora stammered. But the database says humans are weak, fragile, unsuited for… Yeah, about that, Reyna said, her tone conversational, almost friendly. Who exactly wrote those database entries? Because I am guessing whoever did never actually met a human, never visited Earth, never bothered to check what kind of environment produces a species. We have apex predators that weigh 2 tons and can run 30 miles per hour. We have weather systems that generate winds strong enough to destroy buildings. Our planet tries to kill us constantly, so we adapted. We got good at not dying. She stood up, testing her injured shoulder. Also, fun fact, your station gravity. It is like training in a swimming pool for us. Everything here feels light, slow, easy. I have been fighting this whole time at about 60% of my normal capacity. Vectau heard this from his observation deck, still slumped in his chair, and felt something inside him break completely. 60%. She had destroyed his arena, his champion, his entire legacy, while operating at 60% capacity. Reyna collected her winnings, all 73 million credits, and left the station 6 hours later on a commercial transport. No fanfare, no celebration. Just another human heading home after what she probably considered a routine assignment. 3 days later, Vectau stood in the empty arena staring at the cracked floor where Gremoth had fallen. The Galactic Combat Commission had suspended all operations pending investigation. The betting houses across 7 systems had collectively lost billions. Helix 9's economy had crashed overnight. All because of one human. One average human, if her claims were accurate. Vectauer had spent 300 cycles believing he understood combat, understood warriors, understood the hierarchy of species in this galaxy. He had been wrong, not slightly wrong, catastrophically, completely, humiliatingly wrong. Somewhere out there was a planet called Earth, populated by billions of these creatures, all adapted to survive conditions that would kill most galactic species, and apparently, according to every database that anyone had bothered to actually update after this incident, humans were rapidly expanding into space. Vectauer looked at the empty arena one last time. We are going to need bigger arenas, he muttered to himself, sardonic and bitter. Much bigger arenas, or perhaps, no arenas at all. Perhaps we just apologize and hope they are merciful. He left Helix 9 the next morning.